Hey everyone, this is Heather with the Potomac Bead Company. Today I'm going to show you how to make our new bracelet featuring our cup buttons. This bracelet is called the Parisian Breeze Bracelet. This bracelet got its name because of the way the cup buttons form kind of like a Parisian beret look with the magic crystal beads that we have here. So we're going with the little theme here, and I hope you enjoy this video. The supplies that I used for this bracelet, this is about an 8-inch bracelet. The colors that I used in the cup button is a Jade Picasso, and I used about 25 cup buttons for this bracelet for the 8-inch. I also used size 6mm magic crystals in an amber color here, and like I said, I used about 50 of them actually, because they're on each side. I'm sorry, I used 25 of them. And then I also used some Miyuki drop beads for in between. As you can see right here, right below my magic color, I used drops just to kind of fill in that little gap. You don't need to use drops if you've got some 8/0 sitting around that you'd like to use. That would work fine as well. I did use some 11/0s for my toggle and my clasp here, and I did use my cup button as a toggle. So those are the supplies you'll need. Like I said, probably 1 gram of the Miyuki drops and a couple dozen of your 11/0s. And then I also used size 10 beading needle for my project, and some wildfire thread in a 0.008 or 0.006 inch wildfire thread. And the colors that I'm going to be doing today aren't actually, I'm not going to use the Picasso green, but I will be doing more of a red theme here. And here are my cup buttons that I'll be using. And the color that I'm using is a red Picasso. And here are my magic bead in a wine color. Like I said, I'll be using 25 of those, as well as 25 of the cup buttons. This is for an 8-inch bracelet. And then I have a seed bead mix here for my my Miyuki seed bead drop at 3.4 millimeters in a pink, garnet, red Picasso, just to kind of match what I've got going on here. Then my 11/0s, I'll only need about a half a dozen or a couple dozen of those, and that's a seed bead mix in 11/0. Just kind of figuring out what I have laying around to use here. So go ahead and grab your supplies, and then I'm going to show you how to start with this project. I will be using a stop bead here, and I'm going to leave about 6 inch of a tail. We do have a video that shows you how to put a stop bead on, but essentially it's just threading your stop bead of any size, and taking your needle up and through it twice, and this kind of just secures your project in place. Now with my needle and my cup buttons are 2 holes, so I'm just going to put a cup button on with the concave portion facing down, and it's actually going to face my stop bead here. And that's the first step that I'm going to do. And now I'm going to pick up a 6mm magic bead. You can use any type of 6mm. You can use a bicone, you can use another crystal. Rondelles work as well, or even a round bead. I just like the way the crystals look in between each cup button. And now I'm going to pick up another cup button after I dropped my magic bead down. Like I said, they're all going to be facing down. My concave portion is going to be facing down at this point. I want them all facing the same way. After I've added my second cup button, I'm going to pick up my Miyuki seed bead drop. And it doesn't matter what color. Like I said, I'm using a mix here, so I'm getting a variety of colors, sticking with the pinks and the reds. And now I'm going to pick up another cup button, making sure the concave portion is facing down. And then I'm going to start my pattern over again, adding a magic bead, adding another cup bead, and then adding a Miyuki drop bead. And then I'm going to add another cup bead. Like I said, this project works up fairly quick, fairly fast. And you're going to keep doing this same pattern until you get to the end of your or to the length that you want. Now remember, you're going to leave about a 1/2 inch for your toggle and clasp. Okay, so now that I've gotten to the end of my bracelet, leaving about 1 inch or 1/2 inch, depending on what you want to use for your toggle and clasp, I'm making a 7.5 inch bracelet here, and I used about 21 cup buttons along with 21 or not 21, but 10 of my magic beads here, my magic crystals, just to give you guys sort of kind of an idea of how many cup buttons you need. So at this point, I actually want to add my toggle. And to do that, I'm going to pick up one of my magic crystals, and I'm dropping that down. And then I'm going to add 6 of my 11O seed beads, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my 11Os, and I'm going to drop that down. And then at this point, what I'm going to do is pick up my cup button, leaving the concave of it facing down, just kind of keeping that same pattern going that I have. And to finish that off, what I'm going to do is add 3 more 11O seed beads. 1, 2, 3. Dropping those down. And what I'm going to do is actually take my needle down that second hole of my cup button. It's going to come down that bottom section, the concave, and you're just going to pull, because you're going to actually be getting a lot of slack here, so you're really going to have to at this point really make sure that you keep your project nice and tight at this point. Now what I'm going to do is take my needle down through all of the 6 11O seed beads that I just added, as well as my 6mm magic crystal, magic color crystal, and I'm going to pull. And then I'm going to take my needle down that second hole of the next cup button in line for that bracelet. And I'm going to pull, making sure, and it looks like my needle actually missed all of those 11Os. So I'm going to go back, take my needle back up, making sure I'm going through all of your 11Os. Can I stress that enough? As well as your 6mm. And then that second hole of the cup button, the one that you haven't gone through. Now that looks better. So it should look something like this, sort of, kind of. It'll get better once you start adding the rest of your project. Now we're actually, so to give you guys a reference point, we're going to start the other side. We're going to go back down the entire bracelet. This time we're actually going to go through the second hole of the bracelet, because we've only gone through the one. So you need to make sure that when you go through the second hole that it's not the same hole that you had just went through. So at this point we're coming out of the second hole of that top cup button. And instead of adding a Miyuki drop, I'm actually going to pick up a 6mm cube. And I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to look at this cup button, and I'm going to take my needle down the second hole of the cup button that's next, and I'm going to pull, making sure my needle and thread are coming out of the hole that has not been used. At this point, what we're going to do is pick up a drop. And we're going to add that, drop that down, and then you're going to take your needle down the next cup button, that second hole of the next cup button, and you're going to pull. So I'm not sure if you guys can see fully, and so my thread is coming out of that next cup button. And now I'm going to add a magic crystal, my 6mm magic color. And what I'm going to do now is drop that. Once I've dropped that down, I'm going to make sure my needle is taking my needle down through that second hole, the hole that we haven't used, of my cup button. and I'm gonna pull. And I kind of like doing this bracelet laying down. If you were to hold this bracelet, it's going to get very topsy-turvy. It's very flexible at first. Once you start adding your beads and you start filling it in, it will become a little bit tighter. But for the second row of this bracelet, it is going to be kind of flimsy and floppy. So that's why I'm kind of leaving my project on its side here. So now that I'm coming out of that second hole of my cup button, I'm underneath a crystal bead. I know that I need to use a drop. So I'm going to add a drop to my needle. Drop that down. As you can see, there's an alternating design here. It's a crystal cup button drop. Cup button, and then you're just alternating. That's pretty much what the design is. So now my needle is going to go through that second hole, if I can find it, the one that we haven't gone through yet. And if you need to bend it a little bit, you do have that flexibility to bend. And then pull on your project close. And now that I just finished adding a drop, my needle should be underneath a drop. I'm ready to add a crystal, my 6mm. And take your needle down that second hole of your cup button and pull. And as you can see, the top portion is going to, like I said, is going to curve and give you kind of like an S shape because this stop bead is holding your project in place. That's what we want for right now. When you get closer to the finish, I'll show you what to do. So go ahead and repeat the pattern that I just had here and keep adding alternating your drop bead and then your crystal and then your drop bead until you've gotten to the end of your project. Okay, so now that I've gotten to the end of my bracelet here, I just want to say one thing before we add our toggle portion. If you've noticed, as you were finishing up adding your second row, your bracelet was kind of bowing and getting really tight there, and that's okay. That's what we want. What I did to loosen that up was I actually took one stitch out of my stop bead, and I just kind of loosened my stop bead up a little bit. I still want it there because I still need it for adding my clasp portion, but loosening up your stop bead is going to give your bracelet that flexibility so it's not bowed and it's not bent. So that's pretty much what I did, and that's what I want to tell you, is to give your stop bead, just take one of the threads out so that you are able to loosen it up a little bit before we add your toggle. Now at this point, now that I'm coming out of the second hole of my concave portion of my cup bead, I'm going to add one more 6mm bead, and then I'm going to add 25 of my 11 O's for my clasp portion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And you can add how many you want depending on what kind of toggle or clasp you're using. Like I said, mine is a mixed color here. If you want to do a mixed color, you can, or you can make it all one color. So you just want to make sure that it's going to fit over your toggle for your cup button. And 25 11 O's seem to fit for me. And then what I'm going to do is actually take my needle back down through that 6mm bead, and I'm going to try to squeeze it past that stop bead. If you could just kind of ignore your stop bead, and then take your needle down the hole, the second hole of your cup button. and you're going to pull. And if you want to move your stop bead out of the way, you can, but not too much, because it's still kind of stabilizing your project here. I'm just going to kind of slide it down. And I just want to get my crystal in place. So there is my toggle, and we just did a little decorative clasp, a clasp portion using that crystal. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of go back through my project a couple times with the existing thread I have, just kind of securing it a little bit. And with this thread, what I'm going to do is just eventually do some half hitch notches. But the next thing that I'm going to do is actually remove my stop bead, and I'm going to attach a needle to it. Take my stop bead off, attach a needle to the other end of that thread that we left a 6-inch tail. And what we're going to do at this point is take my needle and thread. We're going to go up the 6mm bead, and we're going to go back through the clasp that we just created and take it back down through the project. And then at that point, you're going to tie off your thread. You're going to keep it nice and tight while you're doing that. And that's pretty much it. That's how you make your Parisian Breeze bracelet. And I hope this this tutorial was very helpful for you. And if you have any questions, please post at the bottom and we'll be able to answer. Like I said, it works very fast. It's a very quick and easy bracelet. It's very pretty depending on what kind of colors you want to use. So again, I hope I explained myself clearly. And like I said, if you have any questions, please post and we'll definitely try to answer. Check out our other YouTube videos that are posted, and hopefully you'll like those projects as well. Like us on Facebook and you'll get some email notification. And if you want like any of these products, you can go to thebeadco.com to purchase some of these cup buttons and magic crystals and any other materials that you might need. So again, thanks for watching.